It's another birder's paradise.
It is a chachalaka.
Gosh, hi, I'm Jay. This is Bentsen, Rio Grande Valley State Park.
This is your trail.
Okay.
And hot tower.
All right, thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too.
Sometimes I know right away what I'm going to paint. Other times I think I know, but my plan doesn't work out. So it was today. I tried to make the Hawk Tower work, but I just didn't like my options. And the circular shape made by the branches and their shadow on the trail was so cool that even though I knew the shapes would change quickly and dramatically, I still set up to tackle it, but didn't like the prospect of staring into the sun for an hour. So it was time for Plan C. I had this idea while I was falling asleep last night that sometimes I start a painting and I make the initial stages a little too precious. So I thought, what if I set an arbitrary limit, like 10 minutes maybe, and every 10 minutes I have to scrape off what I've put on the canvas. Because with this raw paper and oil paint approach, there's a lot of history left in the paper. It sucks up. Even if you take it away, it's still pretty embedded, and it would allow for an opportunity to layer some things which I think would make a more interesting landscape. So that's what I'm going to try today. The tram is due back in probably an hour and a half, hour and 20 minutes. So I think I'm going to try to do every, is 10 minutes crazy? 10 or 15 minutes. I'm going to scrape off what I started with. But I also thought, if you keep doing that, there's no way you finish a painting. So what if every 10 to 15 minutes I reduce the amount of area that I scrape off? So some of the early stuff will show scraped, some of the later stuff will stay painted. I think that's a plan, I think. I'm excited to see what develops. I've also been pretty intent for the past couple of days of covering up the right side of the map and getting rid of the legend and this not very visually interesting stuff, and leaving more of the twisty, turny, linear portion of the map that I enjoy more. Let's set out some colors. I'm going to use 7 value light gray, a little bit of 5 value middle gray. It's closer to middle gray. I'm going to put a little bit of cadmium yellow light. I'm going to throw in a little Terra Rosa. I've been trying to use up this super old, this is probably from the 90s, Winsor & Newton tube. There's not a lot there though. I'm not going to use it up today. Just put a little bit on there. I think I'll need more of a dull yellow. So I'm going for my Michael Harding Yellow Ochre Deep. This is a creamier paint than the zinc white that's pretty stiff. Titanium white Rembrandt. Love it. I'm looking at some of the distant things and I'm thinking I'm going to make them pretty warm but pretty light. I have a giant tube of Winton Phthalo Blue. I'm going to put a touch of this on there. Am I? I am to mix some of the greens. I don't think I'm going to put Viridian out. For this gravel, some of the shadows, I'm going to use ultramarine blue. Assuming I can find it. I want to use an umber of sorts to start everything. I'm going to use this garbage burnt umber as my drawing medium. I just cannot wait until this is gone. Ready? For the lights, I'm going to put it in a patch so you can really see the lightsaber effect. Golly. I just don't think that oil should be able to do that. I said that this was going to be for drawing, but I think what I'm going to do instead is like just really quickly throw in a bunch of colors everywhere, knowing that in 10 minutes, I'm setting a timer right now. In 10 minutes, I'm going to scrape it all off. Timer has started. Let's see what becomes of the first 10 minutes. Okay, here's the first check-in. I didn't get much done in that first 10 minutes, but so freeing to know it's not going to be there. But look at how much doesn't leave when you just scrape all this off. So that's gone, but that's locked in. We'll see what comes off in the next round. I'm going to start another 10 minutes. Got to go fast. That timer sure does put the pressure on. Let's see what comes off this time. This may be a terrible idea. Less. I feel like that's nothing. At least psychologically, it's helping me be a little bit freer in the early stages. All right, let's give myself 15 minutes this time. Oh gosh. Okay, I need to be a little bit more selective in my scraping this time. I think messing up this stuff slightly would be good. Not a ton came off. I'm going to stop there and try to maybe get in the tree that drew me in the first place. I was able to have a conversation with a lovely woman who was out birding today. That's not the issue. The issue is the frequency of the tram. It's coming, well, it leaves every hour on the hour. It's 10:50 currently. If I don't pack up now and head to the stop, unfortunately the stop is just within sight. It's past the mesquite tree that I'm painting actually. But if I don't go now, I'll miss the tram and then I'll have to spend an hour walking back. And then I will be later getting to Falcon State Park. It's just things stack on top of each other. I can't let that happen. So I'm going to take a final shot of everything and then I'm going to head on. Okay, it's a decent little beginning. I don't hate it, but I am out of time. The scene has stayed fairly consistent. I will use this video more than likely as a still to finish up just enough information to let it really work, and then I'll be able to call this a finished painting. I don't love giving myself homework on these trips because it becomes difficult to get all of them done, but it is what it, oh, I never want to say it is what it is. That's the situation I'm in. Well, because way leads on to way, it's been a minute since I worked on this painting. And I'm having to be really conscious about reminding myself that the rule was to paint for a little bit and then scrape it off. It's going to be different today because when you're painting on raw paper, what you scrape off is really just the surface and a lot has already soaked in. Today I'll be painting onto dry paint and I anticipate some different results. So we'll see how I modify that little guideline, but I'm going to try to stick to it. So let's get to the next 15 minutes of painting. I think I knew there would come a point when I couldn't keep adding and subtracting, and I'd have to push toward a more finished conclusion to the painting. I think this is that last 15 minutes. So I'm going to set one more timer. I'm going to get as much done as I can in that 15 minutes and make it feel like that mesquite tree is really the focus of attention, drawing your eye, and the randomness of the texture of everything that happened before is a great supporting element. That's the goal for the next quarter hour. I want to thank the Bentsen family for their generosity, which made the whole thing possible. I guess it's only fitting that since today's painting was mostly about scratching it off, that I scratch off this part from the map. Join me next week for another hike and painting in the South Texas Plains region.